Hello, good evening. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller. Again, live from the dining room. I can't seem to move out of here at the moment. I'm normally in the man cave, but unfortunately, I've been relocated due to technical issues, and that does appear to be impacting on my timeliness, actually, because we are pretty much on time today. So, Dorso, your prediction is incorrect, I would say. Please do smash that like button. Let us know you're here. Drop some comments. Super chats are live. All the rest of it. And I'll keep you updated on the Arsenal score as well. We're really hoping for a defeat for the Goons, but we shall see how we get on. So first, without further ado, welcome to all of our guests. James, how are you first of all, as you are to my left? How's things?
I am tremendous. Thanks for having me on. Hello to everyone in the comments, everyone here. Feeling pretty good. I'm finally free. I have nothing extraneous to do with my time, so I'm enjoying my life.
Excellent. Playing lots of Football Manager, no doubt. Defo. All the way from the Total Saints podcast. Glenn, thanks for coming on. First game of the season and first opposition supporter of the season. So we welcome you into the room of cheese.
No, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
It is a pleasure. We look forward to chatting football with you. And welcome back, Jack from Flat Cap Euro Talk. How are you again, my friend? You're good? How's the States today?
States are good today. A bit swampy, I would say, Brooklyn side, but things are all good over here, at least for me. Looking forward to the season. Hopefully Palace get that equalizer, and then it'll be a good start to a Friday.
Well, you'll know if they do, because I'll probably... celebrate wildly. So yeah, they're right here, along with that Lego head of a manager of theirs. I want to see him crying again. Anyway, just without further ado, let's get into it. We've got a match to preview. Haven't done that for some time. We've got the transfer window to cast our eye over. We do that all the time, but it's great to have. I'm so excited. I've got to be honest. I am like a kid at Christmas. I'm going tomorrow. Looking forward to it. I'll be out of the door here from about 10:30, back to the stadium and watching live football. There's just nothing like it, is there, Glenn?
No. I'm looking forward. I'm coming up tomorrow as well. This will be my first visit to your new ground. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm determined not to let the result get in the way of a good day out.
Well, you never know. You guys did very, very well against us last season. In fact, I probably described it as Saints' best game of the season,
without a doubt. Yeah, when we reviewed our season at the end of it on the podcast, we some of us had to choose different games to look back on. We had a very good win at West Ham as well, but the Spurs one was the one that we all instinctively went to for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, it was just the fact you had a goal disallowed in the last minute as well, that was nice. All that sort of stuff. Just everything about it. It was a really good performance by us, and a rare win. A rare win at one of the big grounds, I guess.
Fraser Forster had such a good game. We decided to come in for him afterwards, I think. So there you go. I've never seen a keeper. I think he broke the record for the number of saves in a game or something in that match. I'm sure there was some statistic.
Yeah.
Doing the rounds, but obviously Southampton finished 15th in the league last season. I've got here a total of 40 points, as long as my researchers have got that correct, Glenn.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, 1-9, drawn 13, lost 16, goal difference of -24. James Ward-Prowse, top goal scorer with 10 goals, followed by Che Adams 7 and Brozier 6. If we can just kick off, Brozier's obviously gone back to Chelsea. How much of a difference is that going to make to you this season?
Brozier's season was really interesting because he started slowly and he wasn't even in the team to start with. Yeah. And Ralph Hasenhüttl called him out about his work rate in training and things like that. Then he got in the team, had a little purple patch around November, December, January, rattled in virtually all of those 6 goals that you were talking about, plus a few in cup competitions as well. And then he tailed off. He tailed off big time from sort of February onwards. So it's interesting. I think if if we'd have been able to sign him in January, we probably would have done, and then by March we might have been regretting it a little bit. But it'd be interesting to see what happens with him, because I thought he was going to join West Ham, but they've now signed the Scamacca, the Italian lad, so it doesn't look like that's an option for him anymore. And he's back at Chelsea, and they don't seem to really want him, despite the fact that they're a little bit light up front themselves. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. It wouldn't surprise me if we are back in for him in the next sort of like few weeks. I think if he'd been available at 20 million, we probably would have gone for it. But they were talking about 30 million, which you said it yourself, 6 goals. It's not world beating. It's not enough for us to go and sort of smash our transfer record to go and sign him. But we do need to sign someone to play up front. That's for sure in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Who is your record signing at Saints, Glenn?
I think it's Danny Ings. When we had him on loan for a season from Liverpool, but 20 million, which in today's terms is not a lot, but we don't tend to spend big on transfer fees. Danny Ings was an exception because he was quite good. At the other times that we've spent relative big money, it's not worked out too well. You probably won't remember, we signed an Argentinian lad called Guido Carrillo about 3 years ago for 20 million quid, 7 games, 0 goals, nothing. Yeah, everyone outside of Southampton's forgotten him, mainly because he was garbage. Yannick Vestergaard was another one that was sort of like relatively expensive, and he did well for us in patches, and he's gone to Leicester and disappeared. Absolutely disappeared. Hardly played a game last season. So Saints tend to operate at the other end of the market, as you've seen this season, buying younger players who they think are going to, we've kind of positioned ourselves as the club for younger players to come to, get a start, and then move on later. Carl Walker-Peters, who of course came from you guys, he wasn't getting a game at Spurs. He's come to us, and a year and a half later, he's in the England squad, sort of thing. So that's the model that we operate with, and in the main, it works reasonably well. And we're obviously trying to repeat that again this season with the players we've signed, because with the exception of one, they're all 20 or under.
Yeah.
And James, it's hardly worked out well when we've spent big money on players, has it, in the past?
Are you trying to get me to talk about Tongi and Ndombele again?
I wish he'd disappear and not come back, to be honest.
You were at the Morecambe game, caller. You were sat near me, and my intense frustration of Tongi and Ndombele, and I'll admit I was a bit drunk, but I was not pleased. What are our record signings like? Tongi and Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sanchez. Oh, Richarlison's there as well now, but Sanchez as well. He was 42 million. Actually, I recall John, my dad, saying to me at a Champions League game, I think it was against Borussia Dortmund, when he first signed for us, and he said, "Give it 2 years, and Barcelona will sign him for 80 million." Would you mind if Barcelona signed Davinson Sanchez for 80 million, guys? I wouldn't.
Well, I think there's a real chance. I mean, we're going to talk about starting lineup shortly, Jack, but there's a real chance Sanchez might get in the team tomorrow, isn't there?
No, I don't think so. I feel like Longley, was probably, had maybe enough minutes that he could maybe realistically start the first game as left-sided center back. Ben Davies, I think, has just been really carefully, kind of handled, but I think I anticipate him to start too, because I don't even know if Conte mentioned him as an injury in that press conference. He didn't. I think we're going to be Sanchez spared tomorrow, caller.
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
See, I actually think, I hate to say this, I think Sanchez is going to start. I'm not going to talk about the starting lineup just yet. I want to talk about Saints transfer windows. So spent a little bit of money, actually. What's that, 20, 30, about 45 million quid on a few players. So I don't know if you want to talk through them, Glenn, just so we've got an idea who we're watching tomorrow.
I mean, most people from support other clubs, they see Saints as a selling club, and that's been the case in the last 5-6 years, where we've signed players in the summer, but we've also lost 2 or 3. Usually players that we didn't want to lose, integral parts of the starting lineup. But we got new owners midway through last season, and they sort of quietly went about their business, but they did say that those days of having to sell before we bought anyone were kind of gone, and fair play to them, they've backed it up. They backed up that talk, and we've spent the best part of 50 million quid without having to sell James Ward-Prowse anywhere. So far, 4 weeks to go, whatever. Hopefully nothing happens there. So this time the manager's kind of been able to bring in players that you assume he wants to bring in. He's not been hamstrung with having to get rid of anybody. So we've done what we've done the last 2 or 3 years and sign potential. We seem to target, like Tino Livramento last season, we target the big clubs' youth teams and sign the best players out of that, offering them a pathway to play in the Premier League, and that seems to be appealing, and we can afford that. Those sort of players. I mean, Livramento only cost us 5 million.
Yeah,
and you assume that as he was still a youth player at Chelsea with no experience, he probably wasn't on huge wages, and so we've done the same this summer. But so Gavin Bazunu, who's a goalkeeper who's arrived from Manchester City. I don't know where he was in the pecking order there, but he's been out on loan at Rochdale.
15 million quid. That's quite a decent sum of money.
It is. It's but I mean, and the way we do it is you sign the player for the fee, and you virtually always agree to this buyback clause, which is strange. I really can't for the life of me see exactly how they work. So for example, if Gavin Bazunu plays well for us for 2 seasons, Manchester City then go, okay, we'll give you, we'll trigger the buyback clause for 40 million quid. And is Gavin Bazunu going to want to go back to Man City and be 4th choice? It seems strange to me. I think there's a lot of things that have to fall into place for.
For them to go.
Can you force a player to go back if he doesn't want to? I don't know.
No. I think those buyback clauses are always dependent on the player as well. So the players will agree to the move as well, I think.
So we've done that with him, and the other one from Manchester City is Romeo Lavia, who's a midfield player. Now I think, don't quote me on this, but I think he was the sort of Premier League 2 player of the season last year. So we've signed him. City have signed Calvin Phillips, of course, to replace Fernandinho, who's left. So Romeo Lavia probably looked at that and thought, well, I ain't getting in the team this year. I'll go and play for Southampton and start my career that way. So he's an interesting one. He's played every time we've put anything resembling the start, the first choice team out in pre-season, he has played. So he will definitely play against Spurs. He's a very sort of dynamic defending midfield player in that he gets about the park, snaps into tackles, holds onto the ball, can run with it. It looks ideal, but he's a youngster, so he's got no Premier League experience, the same as all the other players that we've signed. So whilst they're all potentially very good, as I'm sure you know from some of the signings that every club knows, some signings they just don't adapt to the Premier League. It just doesn't work, and they struggle. So hopefully these guys will hit the ground running, but we don't know. German central defender Armel Bella-Kotchap, he's played 70 games in the Bundesliga. Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2, because his team got promoted last season. So he's another one. He's a sort of big, quick central defender, big, powerful lad. Again, he's only 20, so getting thrown in against Son and Harry Kane first game is going to be a baptism of fire, isn't it? But he has played against decent sides before. He's played against Lewandowski for Bayern and things like that. So hopefully he won't be out of his depth. And the other place, apart from other Premier League academies that we sign players from, we seem to sign players from the old firm. So we've had to, we obviously signed Virgil van Dijk from Celtic. We signed Fraser Forster from Celtic originally. We've gone to Rangers this time and signed Joe Aribo, who is a little bit older. I think he's about 25. He's the most proven, if you like, out of all the players we've signed. He played in midfield for Rangers, but we seem to be pushing him sort of attacking midfield striker in pre-season. So he will definitely start the game as well. There's one more I've forgotten. Oh yeah, French youngster signed a couple of weeks ago from Bordeaux, who were at the verge of going out of business. And
Mara.
Yeah, I think the nice story is that apparently by buying him, we've kind of paid off some of their creditors, so that's quite nice. So Bordeaux will keep going for a while, and we've got this 19-year-old striker, but we're still short of strikers because
Yeah.
we just are. Even with him, we've not really replaced Brozier. And we need to get more goals in the team, which I'm sure we're going to come on to later.
Absolutely, yeah. Jack, you're an expert. Heard of any of those players?
Yeah,
anyone take your fancy?
I just kind of, it was interesting to get that, sort of Southampton perspective, on how they sort of operate, as a football club, and kind of seeing that slight change where, they used to have to sell before we buy. We as Spurs fans have complained about that in the past, but to see it, coming in the Southampton, sort of level, you kind of understand maybe why a club would operate that way. But now that they're not really operating that sort of fashion, they're bringing in these young, unproven players, but I kind of like it. I think it's maybe makes it a bit exciting. Kind of a bit of a gamble. Bazunu, I really like. I've happened to see a lot of him because of David Harris, the other David Harris. I actually think Bazunu is probably one of the best kind of keeper signings in a long time. I would say. I think he's going to be exceptional because I feel like the way goalkeepers are nowadays, I think you kind of slowly are going to have to make that transition towards those kind of possession oriented sort of goalkeepers. Those keepers that are comfortable with the ball at their feet, able to kind of ping a pass to, anybody on the field. I think that's kind of where the game is going, nowadays. So Bazunu sort of fits that bill. I've even called him more or less the Irish Neuer because he has like plenty of time, on his side. I think he's like 21 or like 23 or something like that. So it'd be pretty ridiculous to imagine him, kind of falling off from this stage. Like he's already playing regularly for that Ireland national team. He's even better than that, Kelleher guy, at Liverpool. So that was a good signing. Aribo just played in a Europa League final. He looked really good for them. And like you said, he actually played up top, I think, at one stage for Rangers because they were out of strikers, or they didn't have any more strikers left because of injury. So he was playing up top. I kind of like their signings. I don't know anything about those youth level signings, but it shows that maybe Southampton have some sort of scouts or something in that, kind of youth division, or at least in that under 23 division, which is interesting. So I don't know. I would say from me, I would give it a 2 thumbs up. If I had 3 thumbs up, I would give it 2. I would say I couldn't give it 3 thumbs up, but I give it 2.
That's an interesting perspective. And players out then, obviously Brozier's gone back to Chelsea. We've covered that. Fraser Forster, James, give us your opinion on Fraser Forster before I get Glenn's.
Fraser Forster.
Good signing?
For us, yes. Well, it's a very simple metric, right? Because he's coming in as a backup goalkeeper. So the question is he better than the replacement? Is Fraser Forster better than Galini? Yes. That a bit of a head scratcher, I know. But yeah, he's better than Galini. And he's homegrown, right? Got loads of experience. Played for Southampton, plenty of games. Played Celtic for plenty of games. Played some European football. Good signing. I don't think he's going to have any, Lloris level performances because Lloris is the king. But he's going to be solid for us when he's there. It's not going to be a, oh crap, he's in goal sort of thing. It's going to be a, it's good to see him getting some game time sort of thing.
Yeah, in that case, much better than Galini. The fly really irritated me. If in case you see me waving my hands around like a crazy person, it's not because Palace have scored. You'll know when Palace score. It's just like I'm been bitten by a mozzie right here. It's like a golf ball over my eye. It's horrific, honestly.
I've been bitten by one as well here. My hair's hiding it, like on my feet as well, all over my body, just covered in those bites. So shut your windows before you go to bed, guys, or you'll get more mosquito bites.
Fraser Forster, Glenn, what are you saying? Yeah. Is he a loss for you? Is he a good signing for Spurs, do you think?
He was our best goalkeeper last season, without a doubt. And we got Alex McCarthy, who is, I would say, a backup goalkeeper. He's never managed to stay in goal for a whole season wherever he's been. He was at Reading before us, Crystal Palace, and with us. And he can look very good, but Fraser Forster kind of took over around Christmas last year. And if the player of the season had been decided purely on the second half of the season, he would have won it without a doubt. Really? He was excellent. Quite often, he was the only one keeping the score down. Now, you mentioned the game against Spurs where he saved everything. The home game against Arsenal, which we won 1-0. He was ridiculous in that game. And he can have games where, he was nicknamed the Wall from his performances for Celtic. He can have some games where he's just ridiculous, and you just sort of, I mean, you can never be totally sure, but you're watching and thinking he ain't letting it go in today. He's just ridiculous. However, on the other side of things, over the week, I think he was with us for 6 years, and he was very good for the first sort of year and a half. Then he got a bad knee injury, missed 6 months. He came back, and he did well initially, and then for no readily apparent reason, his confidence just went off a cliff, just went downhill. He ended up getting dropped. We ended up loaning him out for, I think it was 2 seasons. We loaned him back to Celtic, and he came back and fought for his place, and he built himself up again. And what I particularly liked about him is that he was never the sort of goalkeeper that was comfortable playing with his feet. And we changed all our goalkeeper coaching when he came back from Celtic, got new guys in. And at the age, I think he was about 33 at the time, and it was like the old dog new tricks thing, but he managed to sort of retrain himself, and he became competent with his feet. He's never going to be, he's never going to be Edison at Man City. He's never going to be that, but he became sort of competent and, not totally uncomfortable. And the other thing, when he lost his confidence, he became nailed to the goal line. And for such a big guy, 6'7", he wouldn't come off his line at all to punch a ball. So he got dropped, and that was another thing that improved massively. And he became a lot better at sweeping up and things like that. So my one sort of caveat for Spurs signing him is that apparently he was never happy being a backup goalkeeper. Now, if I was a decent goalkeeper, I wouldn't be happy being back up to Alex McCarthy either. So maybe it was that. Maybe the fact that it's Hugo Lloris and he's who he is, French World Cup winner and all that stuff. And he obviously knows his role. He's been signed for that specific role, the same as you signed Joe Hart a couple of years ago, wherever it was. Because he's specifically been signed for that role, he's probably got his head around it. And, I'm sure he'll be okay. And he obviously, you're in all the competitions this year. So he's going to play League Cup, he'll probably play some Champions League games that aren't, if you have any dead rubber games in there. So he will play a few games, and he won't let people down. He's a very good goalkeeper. And if obviously you don't want this to happen, if Lloris got injured and was out for a couple of months or whatever, I'd be perfectly happy with him in goal if I was you.
Yeah, and that's the difference. We had. Flipping it, we had Galini, this Italian rapping keeper, more famous for his musical skill, rapping prowess than his goalkeeping abilities. And I think it's just a safe pair of hands. Happy with that. And then Shane Long released on a free to Reading. So significant.
Not really.
I didn't think so.
We gave him a 2-year contract 2 years ago, which we never should have done. It was the classic. He had sort of 3 or 4 good games, and everyone went, "Yeah, let's give a 33-year-old striker who's only got pace. Let's give him another contract for 2 years." And to be honest, he hasn't had what you'd call a good season since 2016. So we've made a couple of mistakes like that, extending players' contracts when we probably shouldn't have done. But no, it's the end of the road. End of the road this summer. He was at best 4th choice striker last season, but he did get a few games, which said more about how bad the others were than how good he was. But he leaves us a kind of a very popular player. No one really had, he tried 100% every game, and I felt like we were almost picking him on sentiment, and there's no room for sentiment in top level sport, which is what the Premier League is. So, we've still got Theo Walcott. That was another sentimental one that we should never have done. But no, Shane has gone. Good luck to him. I hope he has a couple of decent seasons for Reading.
Yeah, but Theo Walcott provides some good target practice for Romero, doesn't he? So
he won't be anywhere near the pitch.
Really?
No, he won't be anywhere near the pitch.
That's a shame.
Not played a minute in pre-season.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, Jack, who are you worried about? And in that Southampton lineup, who worries you and why?
I mean, you kind of just have to start with James Ward-Prowse, but I'll be quick about it. I had to do some stat research the other day, and I'm not going to go too heavy on the stats, but I think last season he took like the most corners of any midfielder in Europe or something like that, and as well, I think he took more shots from free kicks than any other midfielder in Europe last season. So he basically is sort of the set piece god. I think he is, also only behind Beckham now in terms of all-time like free kick goals as well. So anytime we do concede a free kick, maybe via a hopefully not Sanchez error caller, we do know that, James Ward-Prowse is probably basically the most deadly guy on the planet when it comes to, those sort of situations. Like the stats sort of back him up there. When it comes to, the other sort of players, I am interested in Aribo. I'm not sure whether he will hit the ground running like against us, but I think he is going to be a good signing. I could see him, being able to like thread a nice through ball or something like that, or just be a bit classier on the ball than you might expect a regular player up front for Southampton to be. So if Aribo starts, I would say Aribo and James Ward-Prowse. But I would say, I don't know. Who I'm actually afraid of, caller, is Ralph Hasenhüttl. I actually have a bit of respect for Ralph, despite his annual 9-0 thrashing that he receives every season.
We didn't have one last year.
maybe not. I just feel like he's done quite a good job with what Southampton, like we just said before, a club that used to sell before they buy, never really were given the right resources to really climb up the table. And I think he's always, made a good meal of it and like done a good job with it. And he's even actually had a few scalps. Like I remember he's had good games against Man City last season. He had a draw and a, defeat, or he gave us a defeat as well. He's good against the bigger managers, despite having much worse players. No offense, Glenn. No, I really like Hasenhüttl. I actually find him to be a bit underrated because it seems like some people like to kind of slag on him. I find him to be a bit underrated. So James Ward-Prowse and Ralph Hasenhüttl, who I'm afraid of.
You won't get that from me. I'm a Hasenhüttl fan. I think he's done an excellent job at Southampton. I think he really has. And the football they play is really good. It's entertaining. There's been a couple of 9-0s or whatever along the way, but but it's the mark of him. He's bounced back from it as well,
than Big
it?
Sam, I think. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Rather than Big Sam or something. I find him to be definitely underrated. And he also sort of has Conte's number. I think they've only had 2 meetings and he has 1 draw and 1 win over Conte. And so maybe he has his number.
We shall see. James, what are your thoughts on Southampton's danger men? Who worries you? James Ward-Prowse, obviously.
I'll just add, I do actually really rate Hasenhüttl. I think he's a really intelligent manager. The 9-0 drubbings strike me as when you're playing Football Manager and you're too stubborn to change your tactics against a big team. Like, no, this is the tactic. We're not changing it. Don't care that it's 7-0. This is the bloody tactic. Yeah, Southampton, they've got some solid players. I mean, Glenn will know a bit more than me, but players like Elyounoussi. I have to say I'm quite confident that we're going to keep a clean sheet, so I'm not actually too worried. I predicted, I think it was 5-0 on Wednesday. So I'm quietly confident.
James, how many scotches have you had tonight? Because that is a bit overconfident for the first.
Well, he predicted that on Wednesday, caller. He said he predicted that on Wednesday.
I'd had quite a few of these. This bowl's a gift. And a couple. I also made a prediction of 4-0 earlier while completely sober. So I guess I had a goal after a few drinks. But okay. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. So I'm not too worried. But they've got some decent players. I think Shea Adams is all right, but apparently there's speculation around his future, so he might not start. Aribo looks like a solid player, played a lot of games for Rangers. He could cause some trouble, as could Elyounoussi. But you know what? We're going to keep a clean sheet and batter you, unfortunately, Glenn. Sorry to tell you that.
Glenn, would you concur with the danger men? I mean, just on James Ward-Prowse, a lot of people in the cheese room and through the Tottenham sort of Twitterverse, if you like, are big fans of his and would have liked to see us move for him. But I think the fact that you want probably 60, 70 million quid for him is probably putting clubs like Spurs off.
I mean,
people, let me just say this, some people have described him as Harry Winks with dead ball ability, which I think is a bit harsh. What say you?
That's incredibly harsh. I think most fans of other clubs, they don't really get the fact that Saints have said, or allegedly, and they won't have put a price on it, but you know what the media is like, that he's got 3 years on a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically, the price is going to be whatever we want it to be. You know, it's
and
not.
It'll be
it's
a
not,
lot. It'll be a lot because you demand a lot for.
And what's he worth to us? You know, if we lost him now, whatever our odds for relegation are, they'd be a lot worse if we lost him now. You know, top goal scorer last season from basically defensive midfield. That says it all. So he's an absolutely vital player for us. I mean, it's like, you know, West Ham saying Declan Rice is worth 180 million or whatever. Now, you know, he ain't worth that, but he is to them.
Yeah.
So that's the price they're going to put on it. And I know that doesn't make people very happy in the media who are sort of client journalists for bigger clubs, but that's just the way it is. But no, Ward-Prowse is vital for us, and you know, he's had a journey because it wasn't always this way. He had sort of 3 or 4 seasons where, is he a right winger? You know, he was right back. You know, he's not really a number 10. What is he? And it was Ralph's arrival at the club where he obviously said to him, "You've got to toughen up. You've got to put some tackles in," because he never used to tackle anybody. You know, you've got to put some tackles in, otherwise you're no good to me. And he, you know, with that tough love, if you like, he's always had the set pieces, but he's suddenly become a player that, I mean, I think he should start for England, but Southgate being Southgate will always start a Calvin Phillips or a Jordan Henderson or someone like that. So, and to be honest, whenever our players start for England, it's always the death knell anyway, and they do end up signing for Liverpool or whatever. So, so that would be a double-edged thing. But to me, Prowse deserves it. He's been tremendous for us now for really the last 3 seasons. He's the captain, and we would be in a spot of bother if he left or got injured for a long period of time. And that's the other thing; he doesn't seem to get injured. You know, touch wood, he's one that can play every game of the season, sort of thing, without any problems. So, yeah, long may it continue as far as we're concerned. But yeah, you're talking about danger men for us. I mean, yeah, obviously him. This is where I'm struggling a little bit because our pre-season hasn't really been packed with attacking intent and goals. So I know Aribo is going to be one of the front players, but the other front player could be Stuart Armstrong, could be Adam Armstrong. You know, we could end up playing with all midfielders up front. So I made a joke the other day that we're going to be like Spain when they won the Euros with Fabregas up front. We're just going to have all these midfielders everywhere, and no one's going to know what we're doing, including us probably. But
Man City light.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean we've got decent. I mean, Kyle Walker-Peters, I know obviously he was your former player, and I know.
Yeah, let's talk about him. Let's
talk about Kyle Walker-Peters. How many players have you signed to try and replace him?
Kevin Walker-Peters in my. I mistakenly called him Kevin once, and it stuck. So he's always known to me as Kevin. But he always was a bit of a Kevin at Spurs, to be honest.
Yeah,
like it's the way I describe him. I mean, he was not very good when we sold him. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Very unproven, very untested. He needed to go for first team football.
Yeah,
like clearly he's got some talent. Do I rate him? Not really sure, if I'm being really honest.
Yeah.
And I think 30 million is probably a lot for a player of his. How many players have we bought to replace him? None, because he wasn't anywhere near the first team.
Yeah, but he'd get in the team ahead of Emerson Royale, wouldn't he?
I'm not sure he would. I think
no, he would.
He did well. You see, Emerson Royale is a right wing back for defensive minded teams. So if we're playing Man City or Liverpool, you want an Emerson Royale because you want the defensive shift that he brings, and he is very good at that. But he's got nothing going forward. But we've got Doherty, who would be always be my first choice right wing back, and then obviously, and then you've added Spence to the mix, who is the sort of youthful intent of the future. So, you know, I'm a Doherty fan. I always have been. He's given an intensely hard time by the Spurs faithful, mainly because we deployed him at right back instead of right wing back, but showed what he could do when given the chance in Conte's system last year before he got absolutely destroyed by was it a Matty Cash tackle against Villa? He was just brutalised. So unfortunately that ended his season. But you know, is Walker Peters better than Doherty? I wouldn't say so.
No.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Well, you'll have a chance to have a look tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah,
I think he is. I think he's better than Doherty, I would say.
Apart from Ward-Prowse, Walker Peters has been our best player for the last. And it's interesting you say that he never really looked any good at Spurs. We had him on loan before signing him permanently with that weird deal with Højbjerg, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we got Kyle on loan first. Honestly, within 2 games, there's a player there. Just 2 games, being given the confidence of being picked and told that he was playing probably for the rest of the season. After 2 games, everyone was like, "Yeah, we want to sign this guy. Let's hope we can get him in the summer," sort of thing. So, so we were delighted when that worked out. And last year he had a difficult season because we signed Tino Livramento, as said earlier, and Tino went straight into the team at right back, which seemed a bit harsh. And Carl was on the bench. And then he emerged. I think there was an injury crisis, another injury at left back, and so he played left back one game. And he obviously just got his head down and played left back. And to be honest, I think his stats were.
He was really good at left wing back.
He's one of the best left backs in the country last year on stats. So he can do that as well. And I think that was probably what got him in the England squad, the fact that he could play on both sides. As it turned out, he played on the right. And as you know, with England, there's about 7 right backs that are all going to get chosen before him. But no, he's been a tremendous player for us. And he's another one that we definitely do not want bids for anyone from.
Well, I mean, we can buy him, but apparently we can buy him back for 30 million if he wants to come. So I guess I don't know why they haven't done that if they rate him that highly. Because it would solve a very simple problem, and that he's a Spurs youth product. So I dare say he probably would like to come back and play for the team at some point. But no, I've never rated. I know Phil said he had some superb games. I wouldn't say that. Superb is a word often overused in my opinion, Phil. But he was okay in that Newcastle opening.
Phil knows his stuff.
He won man of match. I think he won man of match actually, but that wasn't so much. Go on, James.
Can I just say something? Kyle Walker-Peters is not better than Matt Doherty, and I'm going to prove it with statistics. Literally all of Doherty's underlying numbers are better than all of Kyle Walker-Peters' numbers. Non-penalty goals, Doherty 0.2, Kyle Walker-Peters 0.03. You've got all defensive numbers like tackles per game. They're about similar, but Southampton are a more defensive side. You look at aerial duels, 1 per game. Doherty 1.75, Kyle Walker-Peters 1.09. You've got blocks per game. Doherty completes 2.5. Walker-Peters completes 1.8. You look at progressive dribbles completed. Walker-Peters 1.74. You look at someone like Doherty.
Yeah, I was getting like that,
etc.
I think you've made your point, James.
Yeah, I will bring up many stats to prove my points. Doherty's better.
I'd use your eyes.
I would say though, I don't know if you can compare like Southampton and like a Southampton right back versus a Antonio Conte right wing back. Like 2 different positions, 2 different teams, 2 different situations, and also as well. As much as I'm not trying to offend Doherty by any means, I just feel like Doherty is a 30-year-old guy who's really only played 8 good games for Spurs in all actuality, like in his whole career.
Well, they were back to back.
They were back to back. You're absolutely right, Caller. You're absolutely right. But he is a 30-year-old who just received he just received a major injury as a 30-year-old. We did bring him in for about 15 million or something like that. I just find him to be one of the most senseless transfers that we've ever made. So I do like the fact that I do like the fact that now he's kind of coming into his own at Spurs. But I just always look at that transfer as being one of the most senseless transfers we've ever made. So maybe I always kind of paint him with a, kind of a harsh sort of kind of.
I mean, that is very harsh. I'm just going to say this, and then we'll move on because people don't want to hear all about Doherty or my love.
Why did we buy a right wing back for Jose who doesn't use right wing backs, and he's never been a good defender. He's not really that quick. He's not even that quick either.
2 things, right? Doherty's stats the season we signed him he was statistically, the second best right back in the league after Kyle Walker, not Kyle Walker-Peters. So, you can't really degrade the club for signing the second best statistical right back in the league. What you can say is he was deployed really badly, and when he was deployed well, he looks really good. And I put a tweet out there the other day. Mark my words, no one's going to be talking about right back being a problem when Doherty gets going. I just hope he does now.
He didn't look very good in pre-season to me either, so maybe that's why I'm saying
that's
that.
Right. He only played.
I didn't think he looked very good, actually. I didn't think he looked very good.
Wasn't it? Just correct me if I'm wrong with this.
Anyway,
wasn't it a strange signing with the Mendes influence, with Mourinho having him as an agent and Doherty had him as an agent, and all the involvement with Wolves and all their all their players, but and Nuno and all that, who of course ended up at your club. I'm sure you'd love to remember that one.
I mean, the one thing I would say is, Conte does rate Doherty.
He does.
I think he's a decent player, to be honest.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And there is this, of course, as well. He is Harry's golfing partner at Spurs, which is, you got
extra brownie points.
You got to keep the Kane happy, haven't you? Let's face facts.
I think maybe the other reason is that I'm also heavily biased by, again, working with the other David Harris, who gets to see him for Ireland, and he is apparently woeful for Ireland lots of times as well. And so he just seems to be one of those players that either has an absolutely fabulous game or has an absolute howler. He doesn't really seem to be a 6 out of 10 every week kind of guy. He's an 8 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10. It seems.
I think what you'll find tomorrow is that Emerson will start because I don't think Doc's played enough football, and I think Doherty will be the first choice right wing back once we get going, because we're not likely to sign another one this window, having already signed Spence. So, I mean, and there's bad news because the Goons are now 2-0 up, apparently. So, it hasn't caught up on my stream yet. But, that was always going to happen, wasn't it? So, everyone can switch off that. There's only 6 minutes to go. Come and watch us now. You watch, the numbers will flood forward in a minute. Saka. Oh, such a soft goal. Such a soft goal. There you go. 2-0.
Pain.
Whatever.
Pain.
We've got to go and win 3 now tomorrow, Glenn. So that's Kyle Walker-Peters. How do you predict your lineup tomorrow then?
As said, all pre-season, Ralph has been very decisive in that he's gone with 3 at the back. His go-to formation was this 4-2-2-2 formation, which we did last year, and it worked. The best it worked was the game at your ground last season. The key to that formation is the wide midfield players tucking in when we haven't got the ball. And towards the end of the season, they weren't doing that. So they weren't doing their defensive job. So the 2 in the centre of midfield got pulled all over the place, and the defence was under too much pressure, and it wasn't good enough to cope. And that was why Fraser Forster ended up looking like the world's best goalkeeper, because he was getting peppered all game. So he's decided that, right, we're not doing that again. So we're going with 3 at the back. So, I suppose the first thing to talk about is who's going to be in goal. Do we go with the experienced Alex McCarthy, who's 33, played a load of games for us, or do we go with Gavin Bazunu, who's 20, I believe? Bazunu's been the best goalkeeper in pre-season. So I would be very disappointed if he doesn't go with Bazunu to start. He seems to have something about him, as Jack was saying earlier on. I forgot the fact he's won 10 caps for Republic of Ireland already. So he's never played above League One in the league. So it's a big gamble. And of course he was at Portsmouth last year, who that was interesting because we signed their player of the season, even though he was a Man City player. So that was a little bit funny for us. But so hopefully Bazunu will start in goal. Back 3, I think, will be the new lad Bela Kotchap, the German. He'll be on the right hand side. Left hand side will be Mohamed Salisu, who's been there a couple of seasons now. He can be 10 out of 10, or he can be 3 out of 10. He tends to be a bit rash sometimes. I think. Yeah. Did he get sent off in the game against you? He did. Didn't he, at St Mary's.
He took down Sonny last, man.
trashed him for a penalty, didn't he, and got sent off. So Salisu will play. The one in the middle is up for grabs a little bit, but I think it'll be Jan Bednarek, who's probably the most experienced. He's the bit of experience in there, but he's actually not been playing particularly well. Back half of last season, he was dreadful.
Yeah,
but he seemed he was widely thought to be moving on this summer, but he hasn't. He's still there. And I'm not a body language expert, but when you watch him playing in these preseason games, you kind of think, is that a player that really wants to be there? He's looked a bit sort of lackadaisical, but I think he'll play. Carl Walker-Peters will play on the right-hand side, right wing back. The left is the left wing back is what gives me the creeps, because we've got Frenchman Romain Perrault, who had some pretty good games last year. He would be first choice, but he's coming back. He broke his foot at the tail end of last season, so he's kind of feeling his way back in. So the only other player they've got, or that we've got to play there, is Moussa Djenepo, who is a liability. Is that you just wouldn't trust him. He's a winger. Ralph has never trusted him in the 2 or 3 seasons he's been there, but somehow, for some reason, he's playing. He's playing left wing back, and to be honest,
and Livermento's out, right? He's out.
Livermento's out until after the World Cup. So normally we'd have Livermento on the right and Walker-Peters on the left. But so we're going to have Djenepo playing. So whoever is playing as right wing back for you, that's going to be. I would certainly target that side if you were Spurs, because Djenepo just can't be trusted to go 90 minutes without doing something stupid. Like we had a friendly against Monaco. And it's only a friendly, so in one respect it doesn't matter. But he's playing at left back, and he tries to nutmeg a striker on the edge of his own penalty area. Now, the fact that he even thought of doing that, it's just And if he does that at Spurs, he's not going to get away with it. It's just so he worries me. Midfield 3, I think we'll go with Romeo Lavia, the lad we've signed from Manchester City. Ward-Prowse will be in there. And because it's Spurs and it's going to be a tough game, I think he'll put Oriol Romeo in there as well. So it will be 3 players who can all put a foot in and can disrupt and do bits and pieces, which will leave us light going forward. So I personally think we're going to go with Aribo and Stuart Armstrong, who are both actually midfield players. But they have played together as a partnership in a pre-season game. It looked okay, but obviously pre-season is what it is. You can never really tell. So I don't think we're going to go with an out-and-out striker. But so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the only way it'll be different from that, he might play Stuart Armstrong back in the midfield 3 and bring in Adam Armstrong as a striker. I think that'll be the only sort of possible change that there might be there.
Interesting. James, I'm going to ask you, how would you line up if you're Spurs for this one?
Oof. Hugo, Romero, Dyer, probably Davies, maybe Longley. I'm not entirely sure what's been going on with preseason. I know Conte didn't push Davies as hard because he had those international games. Yeah, he played a lot of football as well, right? He'd had those important games for Wales, so I know all about that. Other than that, it's been pretty basic, right? Like Doherty, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Perisic if he's fit and good to go, which I think he is. Kane, Son, Kulusevski. I mean, Richarlison's out, but I think even if he wasn't, you'd start Kulusevski. So pretty default stuff, right?
Jack, do you agree, differ?
Yeah, and to be fair, though, we don't even have many midfield options. Actually, we have Basuma, who I think has some sort of tight hamstring, so he's unexpected or unlikely to start. Skips out for 2 to 3 weeks, so somehow we're back, ironically, to the position where it's only Højbjerg and Bentancur to really choose from. And Harry Winks is actually, the only.
You could have Winks, you could have Ndombele or the Celso as well.
I guess Papa Matasar. Maybe Papa Matasar has a chance to come on.
I think Sarr will get on the bench.
Yeah. But I agree with that from James. I think that's pretty much spot on. I would like to see Doherty start. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like I agree with your call. I feel like Emerson is probably going to be preferred just because no injury risk there. He's kind of been in shape probably this whole season. I bet he's in good physical shape. and maybe Conte might look at that and kind of think like, you know what, I'll sacrifice the attacking, sort of intelligence.
Well, he could give him minutes at the end, couldn't he?
Exactly.
Or if it's going wrong. I mean, I see it a little bit differently. I think you'll have, obviously, Hugo will be in goal. Centre-backs will be Dyer, Romero. And I'm not sure about Davis's fitness. If Davis is fit, it'll be Davis, but otherwise it'll be Longley slotted in there. And I want to see Longley in there, to be honest, because I really liked what I've seen of him in pre-season. I think he's a much better footballer than Davis, but I think he'll go with what he knows. He'll go with Davis if he's fit.
Yeah.
Left wing back, I've got a feeling he's going to put Sessegnon out and not Perisic.
That's right. I didn't mention that
because Perisic's fitness is not quite where it's going to be at. And at right wing back, like I said already, Emerson. And then midfield, you're kind of stuck with Bentancur and Højbjerg. And up top, the usual three, really. Because as you rightly point out, Richarlison, which means obviously our attacking threat from the bench is Lucas Moura.
And Messi, I guess. But I was going to quickly say to Glenn, if you don't mind, I'm interested with you guys going to the three in the back, because I feel like it could be your guys' saving grace if you are to maybe survive relegation this season, because a lot of teams in the Premier League towards the bottom end of the table do well with like a five in the back. It's like if you kind of want to, just, almost kind of shelter yourself from. And also, I think you conceded the fourth most goals last season too. So I think it's
I think the last two seasons we've been in the 60s for goals conceded. Now, obviously, the 2 seasons before this one, it was swung by getting absolutely annihilated in one game. But yeah, we let in too many goals. At the tail end of the season, I think we lost 9 out of the last 12. And I saw some stat. I'm probably misquoting this slightly, but something like 6 of the defeats were by 3 goals, which it's just ridiculous. You can't have that. The problem I have with it is that I can kind of see a situation where we go to the more difficult games, if you like, and get beat narrowly, and then we play the likes of Leeds at home or Everton at home and draw 0-0. Now, our results against the likes of all the clubs formerly known as Super League clubs. I was going to get that in at some point. Our performances against them and our results against them don't really define our season. It's what we do against Leeds at home and what we do against Brentford and things like that. So we've got to have an attacking threat. And if you play, 3 at the back, you're basically losing one of the forward players. So that is a little bit of a worry. I mean, Spurs can play 3 at the back quite comfortably because you've got the attacking talent that we don't have. So that is a bit of a worry for me. And I can see us chopping and changing a little bit. Maybe the makeup of the midfield will be slightly different. Maybe it'll be like a 3-4-3 type thing where you have wide forwards. But, these teams that play with 3 up front, we don't have a Son or a Kulusevski to play in the wide position and be a really good goal threat in the same way we don't have a Salah or Mane, players like that, who can score lots of goals from those wide positions. We just don't have that. So we've got to find a way to score enough goals to win a few games and to make it entertaining, because if you're playing kind of dull football, you'll get away with it if you get results. But if you have the double whammy of playing sort of defensive football, if you like, and you're losing as well, then people's patience wears thin pretty quickly. So I'm a little bit concerned about that for us as a season. Just this
question here, Glenn, if I may. Dave wants to know: do you miss Højbjerg at all?
No. That's a short, very blunt answer. I liked him when he was with us. I thought he was a good player, but it's one of those players. If he moves on and you adequately replace him, he's not one that you really miss. He went, and Ward-Prowse sort of came through, and Romeo got better. So it gave those two more of an opportunity to play. Højbjerg did a very good job. Højbjerg, how you pronounce it. He did a really good job for us for the 2 or 3 years he was there. So he's one of those where he's moved on. We kind of got Kyle Walker-Peters in exchange. I think it was a good move for everybody. Everybody involved in that transfer seemed to do well out of it. By the way, you've massively upgraded by signing Basuma from Brighton. I've seen quite a lot of him. He is a much better player, and Højbjerg wouldn't be in the team if Basuma was fit. So, or very unlikely. And
I think he'll play his way into the team. I think every manager we've had 3, I think, since he signed, or maybe 4 if you include the caretaker manager for a few games. But I'll just pass in by. Has rated Højbjerg, but I think it's just he waves his arms around lots. He thumps his chest. He's passionate. He knows how to put a tackle in. But to me, he's very upgradable. I think he's a serviceable midfielder, but he's not a standout, superstar that a big 4 team would want.
He does a decent job. He can do a disciplined job. You get the impression that he is a leader. I mean, because his background was playing with Pep Guardiola at Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich, yeah.
So he's got the pedigree. So he is a good player. But I think compared, Pep obviously saw something in him when he was 18. I don't know how old he is now, 26 or something. He's probably not become the player that Pep Guardiola thought he was going to become when he was 18. No shame in that. He's a decent career, but I will be interested to see how many games he plays for Spurs this year when everybody's fit.
Because Bentancur would probably be a much better player than him as well. And personally, I rate Ollie Skip higher than him as well, if I'm really honest. But we shall see. We shall see where we get to. My Skip love has no bounds, Jack. I saw that smirk. Right, let's talk score predictions then. Let's go to Glenn first. Who are you really most worried about in the Spurs team, Glenn? Just while I've got you.
Pick your poison.
Well, you've got Harry Kane for the whole season this year, because obviously you didn't have him for the first part of last season because his mind wasn't on it. So
and he's fit. He's proper fit. I mean, Conte
and he's fit. Well, I mean, I haven't got the stats, but Son Heung-min seems to score every single game against us. So he's the obvious one. I'd pick Son more than Kane, to be honest. But either can get you, as we well know. So those two, but Son in particular is the one that worries me.
Yeah.
And whoever's playing right wing back, simply because of who we've got on the left. That would
with Gineppo. Gineppo.
I was
going to say, Collar, is there a team? Is there a team, Collar, that have you ever come? I know you do these rival fan, discussions. I feel like every single rival fan says, Sonny always scores against them. I feel like there isn't a team in the Premier League that every single rival fan says, "Oh, Sonny always scores against us." Like, what team doesn't he always score against? Is what I want to find out.
I don't think there is one, to be honest.
I just feel like I would be a rich man if I heard that every time, from a rival
Wolves,
fan.
maybe.
I feel like you hear that.
Wolves.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'll ask my dad. He's a Wolves season ticket holder, so I might get him on the show actually for the Wolves preview. But I don't think he scores much against Wolves. But he's just a phenomenal player, isn't he, Son? I think I tell you the one to watch out for, Glenn. I think Kulusevski. I don't know if he played against you last season, but
I think he came on as a sub.
He's been fantastic for us since he started.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. But yeah. Those three together.
We to stop them, we've got to really stop the supply, and we've just got to defend well as a team. But it's too much to just sit back and defend for 90 minutes. You're not going to succeed with that. We've got to have some sort of attacking threat. So, the weakest area of your team, and it is a very strong team. The weakest area is the sort of the midfield. And we've got to have a threat. We've got to be making Højbjerg and Bentancur or whoever's playing go backwards. We've got to get in and around Eric Dyer and give him things to think about. We can't just sit off 40 yards from goal and expect to get anything out of the game because we won't. So
I think it's set plays that will be our undoing, if I'm honest, because we struggle, and we saw it in pre-season. We struggled to defend good set plays, and obviously you have got the MVP of set play takers in your team.
I'll tell you something. Yes, direct free kicks. I totally agree with you. You don't want to give any free kicks away on the edge of the box. Our record of scoring goals from corners last year, despite having the excellent delivery, was largely rubbish. We were good when we had Vestergaard because he was 6'7", and even if he didn't head it, he was taking 2 players away and all that sort of stuff. I don't think we scored many goals from corners and headers and stuff last season. So, but we've upgraded, I hope, the coaching staff over the summer. That's happened as well. So hopefully, from our point of view, we'll see something a little bit different from the corners and wide free kicks and stuff. And hopefully hopefully for us we'll be a bit more of a threat, because I felt that we didn't really do enough last year with that. And also our defending of set pieces was Keystone Cops at times. It was just random. It was like, whilst you three are going to mark zonally, and then you three are going to take men, and we'll have the little guys marking their big guys, and it's just horrible. So that caused us a problem, mainly against the more physical sides like West Ham, things like that. We were just awful defending set pieces. So set pieces will be key, as they always seem to be these days.
Score prediction, Glenn?
I think we're going to score, actually. How optimistic is that? I'll go for I'm hoping that playing Spurs on the first week of the season, you won't quite, first game of the season tends to be a little bit disjointed, so I'm hoping for a bit of that. If realistically, I'll go for a 2-1 win for Spurs.
Okay. James, you don't want to change from your 4-0 now?
No, 4-0. 4-0, 5-0. Sorry, Glenn, we're going to back
standing by it. Okay. He's probably drunk, Glenn, so don't worry about it.
Oh, can I come back on if you don't batter us?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But Monday review show, yeah, absolutely. All things being equal, absolutely. If you win though, not sure how that works. Jack.
Oh.
We haven't kept a clean sheet all preseason, so I am actually a bit worried about that sort of moment. But Sanchez, we might be Sanchez spared, so that is maybe a key factor. I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs. I actually see this game being very cagey at some stages, mostly because, like I said before, I feel like Hasenhüttl has maybe not really exactly like I said it, has Conte's number, in that catchy, kind of way I put it. But I feel like maybe he does have some sort of way to stifle Conte's, sort of team. I mean, he did it in 2 different ways. He did it with that 4-2-2, like you said, and then he also did it, I think, with a 3 in the back before Salisu got sent off. As well. And so I feel like, maybe Ralph Hasenhüttl has a trick up his sleeve. But then again, I'd like to think that Conte is one of those really stubborn sort of managers that, when he sees that Hasenhüttl has had a good record against him, maybe he'll, he'll do something about it. So 2-0.
2-0. And I'm going to say 3-0. I think we'll keep a clean sheet, which is adventurous, to be honest, especially if Sanchez plays left centre-back. Christ almighty.
That's adventurous.
Yeah. But I think we've got too much for Southampton. I will be looking forward to seeing how Kevin plays, to be honest. I hope he does. I hope he does well. I like an ex-Spurs boy, but not that well. Good. Right, let's talk the season then. So I've got some various categories to discuss with you all. What I want is your predictions. So Glenn, as you're the guest of the show,
okay.
Tonight, I will ask you first. Top 4 in order.
Top 4. Do you want me to talk around it or just?
Yeah, flesh out what you think.
Okay. Okay. First, Manchester City. Dull and boring, I realise. I can't see anyone getting near them, to be honest. They've won 4 out of the last 5. They got a stronger squad than last year. I don't think. Once Haaland gets up and running, which he will, despite what happened in the Charity Shield, they'll be ridiculous. Pep will work out how to get the best out of him. It's not like they're not going to play to his strengths or anything like that. So I see City winning it. Second, boring again, Liverpool. Slight caveats over, the new striker, Nunez, how he's going to fit in.
Yeah.
Slight caveat, very slight caveat over Mo Salah as well. I know he's got a new contract. You occasionally see see players kind of dip a bit when they've just signed a new deal. So, but equally, he could score 40 goals. So I don't really know. I still think they're going to be very, very good. Klopp has got a very defined way of playing. He's signed exactly the right players to play that system. And I think they'll be very, very good again. Third should be Spurs. No excuses. Players join in. You've got an elite manager. You've got Kane for the whole season. All the players you've signed, I think they've been decent signings, all of them. You got your backup striker at last, which you haven't had for you've always struggled with that because Kane's played so many games. Be interested to see whether Kane gets rested at all, because I know he's the sort of player who doesn't get rested as a rule.
He doesn't like a rest either.
No, I know.
That's the thing with him.
But sometimes I think with players, you've got to take them out the firing line. I've thought this about us with Ward-Prowse in the past. Sometimes you have to take them out for their own good. And you're playing obviously more games this year.
Right.
With hopefully for your in your case you'll go far in the Champions League. So you're looking at 65 games or whatever with a World Cup in the middle. So it's So Bissouma, I think, is your standout signing. I think he's the player you most needed. But I don't, I like Romero, obviously. He looks a tremendous player. I know you signed him. Was it last season he joined?
Last season, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think...
Perisic is the other one. Perisic is the one you mentioned.
Yeah,
he's the standout signing for me. But
Perisic is an outstanding player, but at times he's been a world-class player. The only thing I'd say about him is that he is 33, and it is difficult sometimes for a player of that age, no matter how good they are, to come into the sort of fastest sort of style of football that he's ever played before at 33. I mean, the one I always remember is Laurent Blanc. When he went to Man United, he was about 36. He'd won the World Cup. He'd done everything, and he just got ripped to shreds because he just couldn't adapt at that age. So, but I think Perisic is. There are times when he's been, playing for Croatia mainly. You've seen him, and he's been world class. So,
I mean, he is a physical specimen, but I mean, he is really, really fit, and I think his fastest recorded speed last season was faster than anyone in the Spurs side. Even Solly. So, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
So I think, and what competition? It'd be interesting to see if Spurs target the League Cup, whatever it's called this year, Carabao Cup, whatever, because that's Manchester City sort of target that one to try and get a trophy on the board early. And I think for a team like Spurs, you've gone a while without winning anything. Just anything would be good. So I for your sake, I hope they kind of don't play a reserve side in the cups and get beaten by a championship side just for just for the sake of resting players. I think that's really a competition you should be targeting this year. And the only real danger I see for Spurs is obviously injuries to the big players up front, or whether there'll be some sort of blow up along the way between the manager and the and Mr. Levy.
That's guaranteed. I think
it's guaranteed.
With Conte
it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed at some point. But hopefully for your sake, they can hold it all together for this season, and you can sort of reach your full potential this year, because there really is no reason. Anyway, I'm going on. Fourth, Chelsea. Lacking in firepower a little bit, unless he gets 25 goals out of Havertz or someone else they sign. Fifth, despite being top of the league right now, Arsenal. They'll be better than last year. I think Gabriel Jesus is a really good signing, but I don't think they'll be good enough against the other top sides to do much better than that. Sixth, West Ham. I think West Ham are the best of the rest. I can't see Man United being any better than last season, to be honest. Not really. They might.
I think Eriksen could change them up quite a lot, actually, but it depends. I mean, he single-handedly pulled Brentford out of that relegation fight.
Yes,
really.
he did. But
so it'd be interesting to see where. I think he will play. I think it'd be interesting to see where they deploy him. And I mean, Man United, the jury's out for me. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, that was top six. I only asked for top four. So Glenn,
sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. I'll take the bonus balls.
The evil. He had to do the evil top six. He couldn't just leave it to the four.
Absolutely.
Jack, go on then. Give me your top six.
Man City, I think it's quite obvious. They're just, they make it way too easy every single season. And they finally have a striker, which, they've won it without a striker before, and now they have a striker. It seems like there's nothing to complain about over there. Liverpool, just because I think Jurgen Klopp has kind of shown that a lot of people doubted him last season, I think, going into it. A lot of people had Liverpool finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Yeah.
I had them finishing 2nd just because of Jurgen kind of alone. I just think he's of equal par to Pep Guardiola in terms of, pedigree of manager, and I think he proved that. So I'm putting him in 2nd, despite the loss of Mane. 3rd is us. 4th is Chelsea, just because I don't know about you, Caller. It just feels so weird if we were to see Chelsea outside the top 4, despite all the kind of red flags right now. It would just be a strange sight to see them finish outside the top 4. So I feel like if they keep Thomas Tuchel around, if he isn't crying and complaining too much, kind of Karen Klopp style, I hope that, he does get sacked, because I feel like he is a great manager and he would get them into top 4. But if they keep him around, if they keep him happy, I could see him, kind of maybe getting a few clean X's and then being able to get them into top 4.
I think the other thing with that is I don't think they're going to be as trigger happy as they were under Abramovich, with managers. I could see that approach changing.
That might be true, actually. That might be true. Yeah. That's a good point there. 5th, I actually, just out of my own bias as a Spurs fan, I have rationalized a way to put Man United ahead of Arsenal. And then Arsenal I have finishing 6th. The reason I'll probably more explain Arsenal finishing 6th than Man United finishing 5th. Arsenal finishing 6th. They're back, playing European football once again. We'll see how they handle that. Last time they missed out on top 4 was because they didn't have players with that pedigree or that experience to get them into top 4. And what have they done? They continued to sign players that don't have experience getting into top 4, battling for top 4 battles. The captainship over there, or the captaincy, seems to be passed around like a bowl of popcorn at a cinema. There seems to be no sort of, standard when it comes to the captaincy over there. I feel like they play really nice, beautiful football, Arsenal. I feel like Mikel Arteta, he draws really nice things on white paper boards, but I just don't really, I feel like once it gets towards the end of the season, Caller, I feel like they're going to crumble like they did last time. Like, I think they'll look really good in certain weeks. Everybody will be talking about them, and then towards the end of the season, they'll crumble like they did last time.
Interesting. So James, your take?
Yeah, I don't know how much City and Liverpool have actually strengthened. City have lost Mane. Liverpool have lost Mane, not City. It looks like Bernardo Silva could leave City. Guardiola said they didn't want him to leave, but they could lose him. They lost Sterling. Haaland, very good player, has a bit of a history of getting injured, right? If he had a bad injury for a large part of the season, where does that leave them? It's going to take him a bit of time to hit the ground running, to get going, as it were. Sorry. And they have no real backup at left back because Zinchenko left. Liverpool, Nunez.
So have you got Man United winning the league then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm explaining my rationale for where I think teams are going to finish. I'm just saying that I don't think City and Liverpool are actually a lot better than they were last season. I don't. Is this
leading up to you saying Spurs are going to win the league?
No, I'm just going to state that I don't think any team's going to get above 90 points this season. And I think that City are going to win the league. But you know what? I've been thinking this for the past day or two, and I've been thinking over because it's really controversial. Spurs are going to finish 2nd.
Okay.
Liverpool 3rd. I think they're weaker than they were last season. Their midfielders are all age. They played a really hard season last year. They're going to have the World Cup in between. I think their front line is weakened. Nunez is worse than Mane. End of. Chelsea are going to come 4th. They just signed Cucurella today for 60 million. Even though all the rubbish that's going on there, Tuchel's still a good manager, and they're still a decent side. They're still much better than United and the scum. Yeah. So, they're going to be fine. I mean, 5th and 6th is going to be United and Woolwich. In which order, don't know. Doesn't really matter. Both Europa League spots, so they can enjoy playing Thursday nights in, I don't know, Turkmenistan or something like that.
You may know more about this than me, Jack, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's the 5th spot for Champions League this season that kicks in. for next year.
I actually don't know anything about that. I thought the fifth spot was still reserved for Europa League. That would be crazy.
No, I think
is it this year or the year after?
Well, no, I think it's qualifying for it this season because next season's the season where all the changes happen to the Champions League. So
that's a crime. That's a crime.
Have a Google, but I'm pretty sure we get 5 Champions League spots this year.
Do you want me to Google it?
Yeah, have a look while I'm talking.
If you ask me, my quick take there is that that's a bit of a crime. I just don't feel like that's necessary or even really fair. Well, I feel like having an odd number of teams going into the Champions League even also just doesn't even make sense. Might as well let 6 go. Let 6 go in if you're going to let 5 go in.
It's happening. I'm not sure whether it's this season or next season, but it'll be top 5 Champions League because there we go. John's got it from 2024. But John, is that qualifying 2023? Because that would be this season.
Might be right. Might be right. I guess we'll find out.
24.
What did you make of Glenn's shout for the bubble blowers to finish 6th there, caller?
I'm gonna give you my 6, and I'll tell you what I think. I think that I want to say Spurs are going to win the league, but not this season. Next season, we need a proper centre back and a proper attacking midfielder first. Yeah, I think Man City will win it because I think that Haaland is an outstanding centre forward, and Pep will, as Glenn said, Pep will figure it out. He will make sure, they might get off to a slow start, but he will figure that out. And I think once City get on a roll, it's quite difficult to stop them. They tend to go on a burst and win like 12, 13, 14 games back to back. I think I agree with James. Liverpool are weakened to last year because I think they'll really miss Mane. And I don't think the players they've signed are, I don't think Diaz and what's the new chap's name?
Nunez.
I don't think from what I've seen, he's going to be a patch on Mane, and there'll be a certain amount of bedding down in it as well. There we go, qualifying at the end of 23-24 to play Champions League 24-25. So there you go, extra Champions League place next season.
Excellent. See you there.
That'll be great. Spurs will have even more chance of making the Champions League. Super League by stealth, right?
Absolutely.
So I think second is going to be very tight between Liverpool and Spurs, but Liverpool have got the better squad, so I'd expect them to do it. I think we should finish third. This is where I'm going to disagree with you most heavily. I think the Goons look good, and I think they'll finish 4th. And I hate saying that, but I do.
Yeah, they deserve 4th.
I do think that they will get 4th. I think Chelsea.
If we weren't Spurs fans, I think a lot of us would be predicting that.
Yeah. I have to put my neutral head on. 5th, flip a coin. I think Chelsea are in there. Probably Chelsea. I think United will be slightly ahead of West Ham. That's where I think they'll be.
Do you agree with me, though, that Chelsea finishing outside the top 4, like their fans have grown so accustomed to that I feel like Chelsea would do probably, if January, they're thinking that they might not make top 4. They might do whatever it takes to get into top 4, is what I reckon.
I mean, they haven't got the financial firepower that they had.
I guess.
And they've lost some key players. And I think the thing is with Chelsea that if you look at them where Arsenal are at in their cycle, I think Chelsea are starting a new cycle, and I think Arsenal are probably a year ahead of them. That's where I think they're at. And I think where we're stronger is we have a world-class manager, and Arsenal don't. Yeah, because there are points this season where the Goons will look better than us. John's making a good point actually there in the chat. Thursday night football will impact them a bit as well. But equally, Champions League will impact us a lot as well. So, that's where I'm at. So we'll see. We'll write them all down, and we'll see at the end of the season who's right. And we'll invite Glenn back, and he can take a bow for being correct. Relegation, bottom 3. This one probably more relevant to you, Glenn.
I should be offended by that, but I'm not.
Who's going down this season, do you think?
Bournemouth, flat last. It's interesting because I mean the company I work for is actually based in Bournemouth, and Obviously, I don't go there now because since COVID, we've all been working from home. But most of the people that I talk to there are Bournemouth fans. And to be honest, quite a few of them wanted Scott Parker sacked last year when they were in the promotion places because
before they got promoted.
The football was no. Even so, the football was dire. Scott Parker is, he's very pragmatic with his, so they were winning games, but they weren't particularly, playing great football or anything like that. They haven't signed anybody who remotely is going to make a difference. They're going into the season with Dominic Solanke and Kiefer Moore up front. Now, if that doesn't say we're going to launch the ball up in the sky, I don't know what does.
The new Burnley.
I think
Kiefer Moore slander. I won't stand for Kiefer Moore slander.
I wouldn't stand for that either. I like Kiefer Moore.
He's one of the top strikers in Europe, I'll have you know.
He's
like Solomon Rondon. I think he's secretly one of the greatest strikers of all time.
No, right? Okay, he might be all right on his own, but up front with Solanke and Phil Billing, the other guy, he's the shortest one. He's about 6'6". So it's. So I see Bournemouth going down. I see Fulham going down simply because they always do, and Nottingham Forest are the interesting ones because they've obviously spent a load of money, but I'm not sure Jesse Lingard is a player I would have looked at if I wanted someone to fight relegation battle and play that sort of football all season. Some of the PR rubbish that's come out, I want to feel loved. No, you would have gone to West Ham if it was anything about football. You've just gone for the money. So I think Forest have probably got the best of those three. I know that's the three that came up, and that's dull. But that's the way I see it. Others that are going to be down there: Leeds, Brentford, Everton, Saints will probably make up the next sort of four places, and Brighton because one of the things I find sad is that you can have a good season like Brighton did last year, and like Saints did a few years ago when we come sixth, and then you get absolutely pillaged in the summer. Now Brighton have lost probably their best two players, one to you, one to Chelsea. And they've got to pull another rabbit out of the hat to try and replace those.
The thing I'd say is Potter, I think, is a tremendous manager. I was campaigning for him to be the Spurs manager. So I think if anyone could pull Brighton, up, it would be him. But okay, interesting, Glenn. Jack, bottom three for you.
I feel like the bottom three or even the bottom six is more interesting than even predicting the top six this season. Maybe what I mean by that, I feel like it's harder to predict the bottom six this season than it was last year. I feel like last year it was really easy to kind of predict who was going to finish in the bottom. Granted, maybe Everton made it a bit more interesting, but, it did feel like the people that were competing at the bottom was what everybody predicted, who would be competing at the bottom. We're like, this season, I have no idea, genuinely have no idea. I have Bournemouth finishing bottom, dead last, like you said, Glenn. Apparently, it's not very exciting football, very slow possession, kind of long ball. They didn't really bring anybody in of any sort, which sort of suggests they're going to kind of shoot for some sort of miracle, to stay up and then invest in the team if they stay up instead of investing then only to get sent back down. Fulham, this one is weird. I put them in 19th, but I actually like Marco Silva. I actually feel like he's looked good before, as a manager, and he didn't do well before in the Premier League at one stage, with Watford. But, I just feel like he is a good manager, and I'm wondering if maybe this is the time where Fulham actually do, kind of survive. And Mitrovic, absolutely kind of, he just pissed all over, the Ivan Toney numbers from the previous season. Like he made, those Ivan Toney season look like absolutely nothing. So I am a bit interested in Fulham. They brought in a lot of good signings too. Like they brought in a lot of players, but I have them finishing 19th. I kind of want to be proven wrong there because I don't really know why I have them finishing 19th. It's just that everyone else has them finishing 19th. So I'm going to put them there so I don't look stupid. But Southampton, despite me loving Ralph Hasenhüttl, I do have you guys finishing 18th. This is the other thing too, though, which is why it's really hard. I really rate Ralph Hasenhüttl, and he's done a really good job with you guys in the past in making it really comfortable so that you guys didn't have to worry about relegation. I could see him doing that again, where like everybody predicts Southampton to, maybe be one of the ones to go down, and then you guys are actually quite comfortable, in the end, because he's done it in the past. But I feel like maybe this season, the fact that you guys conceded the fourth most goals last season, all the new signings you made are non-Premier League proven. It feels like, the signings you even made are kind of like signings, like if you guys went down, you could easily go back up, with the signings that you made. You guys will be back in the Premier League the following season. So I've gone for Southampton as my 18th choice.
Okay.
It pains me because I love Ralph. And it pained me to say that.
Oh, you've said it now. You can't climb back now.
As much as me and Glenn have developed good camaraderie here, I've now betrayed him.
Super chat coming from Tottenham Hotspur Football Club till I die. Big up, guys. We will tomorrow. Come on, you Spurs. We hope you are right. Absolutely. James, let's hear your bottom three.
Well, it's funny because I got sent a Premier League table prediction earlier today by my girlfriend, which was just horrendously incorrect, by the way. Had Liverpool winning the league and City finishing fourth, like whatever. So I did mine, and I just pulled it up, and while in a sober state, I might add, right, I predicted Everton, Leeds, and Fulham to go down.
Leeds,
because I think Leeds are just terrible. They downgraded their manager, haven't improved. They've weakened. Everton's a bit of a hot take, but I think they were bad last season. They lost Richarlison. They haven't really strengthened. Do you think, Calvert-Lewin, he's just come back from injury?
Yeah.
He might struggle for a few months. And
he's injured again. Calvert-Lewin's injured again. He's not available. Again.
Crikey.
Yeah.
Brilliant. An attack of Andros Townsend and Damari Gray. Doesn't that just scream Premier League quality to you? I mean, they're going to be not the worst defensively. I just think they're really going to struggle to score goals. Plus, they've got a Frank Lampard. I mean, he's not got that. He's not an experienced manager, is he? He's only really, before that, he managed Derby when they were already all right. And in Chelsea, he's not had to do a full season of when the tough gets going sort of thing. So I think they're going to struggle. Fulham.
This is the nail on the head. Everton have got out of Port Burnley's defence. Burnley just got relegated.
I think they'll be good defensively, but the problem is Lampard never plays that kind of defensive style.
No, he doesn't
like play that more expansive style. So you're trying to put Tarkowski in a more expansive style. That's not going to work. It's like trying to make a brick into a boat. It doesn't work, does it? So I think they're really going to struggle for goals.
I feel like James is bringing up exactly why I had so much trouble predicting, the relegation candidates, because I find it so much easier. Like James found it very easy to rationalize why Everton will go down. After what Everton did last season, I genuinely was convinced by the whole, maybe they are just too big to go up, or go down, sort of, no matter how bad they are, no matter how horrible their 11 is, no matter how horrible their manager is, in the case of Fat Frank, I feel like they'll just stay up, no matter how bad they are. Like they'll just find a way like they did last season. And that's sort of my logic, where maybe Southampton, I actually couldn't come up with good reasoning for why I think they'll go down. It's just that I feel like the other teams seem either too big or too good to go down. And that's how I sort of see it. I think Everton are too big to go down, despite there being all the reasons in the world for them to go down. There are more reasons for them to go down than for them to stay up. But I just feel like maybe they proved they were too big to go down last season.
Okay. I'm going to say, I'm glad James said it. I'm not the only one. I don't see Southampton going down. I genuinely don't. I do genuinely see Everton going down because they haven't really upgraded from the team that struggled so badly last season. They've lost their main goal threat in Richarlison, not replaced him really. And, I just...
Dwight McNeil for 20 million, it's none of it.
I can genuinely see them really, really struggling. But a lot,
my thinking too, though, the sooner they sack Fat Frank is also my thinking too. The sooner they stay,
the sooner they'll get better. The sooner they'll get better.
That's my thinking too. If Fat Frank stays the whole season, and this is the thing, they'll sack him if they know that he's going to get them relegated. I just feel like Everton, they won't mess around. They won't.
I don't feel any managers will get sacked until the World Cup. You've got the World Cup, which is this obvious break in the middle of the season where sort of chairman and stuff will have a lot of time to sort of sit down and think about things when they're not under pressure of playing matches and all that sort of stuff. So I can see most managers' jobs being safe until until the World Cup, and then there might be a few that go around that time. But
Forest will be okay. Forest will be okay because I think Steve Cooper's an excellent manager, and I think they're riding a bit of a sort of promotional crest of a wave
too.
I think Fulham's one to watch. I think they're quite likely to go down. So, and I tell you, Wolves. I mean, I hear a lot about Wolves with my dad being a season ticket holder. They've not strengthened at all, and they were in real trouble at spells last season. So Wolves are an outside bet to struggle. But if you push me on 3 names, Brentford, I think are going to struggle as well. If you push me on 3 names, I would say Brentford. I would say Everton and Bournemouth. That's my 3 to go down.
I like James's. Those were some big clubs going back down into the Championship. That would be fun. Leeds and Everton.
The thing with Everton is the guy they want to go as a club. They've obviously got very ambitious ownership. They want to be one of those bigger clubs, right? But the problem is the guy who would really keep them up with the players they've brought in is not the manager they have, right? Had they brought in a more defensively minded manager,
Sean Dyche would keep them up.
Sean Dyche. His name escaped me for a second. Had they brought in, if they struggle and they bring in Sean Dyche, they'll be fine. I can see them being fine. Actually, the problem is he's not the kind of manager they want to bring in because they don't want to play this defensive, very 90s English 4-4-2 football. They want to play expansive, sexy football. The problem is they're not a top 10 team, so they can't play sexy football unless they've got a very good tactical grounding for it, which they don't under Frank Lampard. You know, he's not Marcelo Bielsa, right? He's crap. So it's hard, and I think they'll struggle and go down just purely because they won't score a lot of goals and their defense won't be able to play expansively. Leeds, I think they have a worse manager now than they did under than when Bielsa was manager, and they've weakened. They lost Rafinha. And Fulham, they just always go down. It could be Fulham or Bournemouth. That's pretty interchangeable for me. I think Forest will be safe. That's definitely not my bias from managing Nottingham Forest for like 15 seasons on Football Manager talking at all. But I think they'll actually be all right. I mean, they've got Brennan Johnson, who's basically the next Lionel Messi, so they'll be fine. They've made a lot of signings. I think they might struggle towards the beginning of the season just because they've made quite a few signings, so it's going to take a bit of time to get them all together. But I think they'll be okay.
I think Cooper's a good guy. I think he'll keep them up. We'll speed up a little bit on these next ones. Just a name. FA Cup. Whose name's on it, Glenn?
Arsenal.
Oh,
just been a shithouse. Sorry.
Good one. Good payback.
Unbelievable. Yeah. See what you've done now, Jack. Jack, who's winning the FA Cup?
Us.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say. I think Conte has his eyes secretly on an FA Cup or a Carabao. He has his eyes on one of those. I'll say we win it.
Yeah. James, FA Cup?
Tottenham Hotspur.
Yep. When the year ends in 2 now, right?
Oh, God. Back
the year after Conte. It's the year after one. The year after Conte.
Liverpool are going to win the FA Cup. That's what I'm going to say. League Cup, Glenn?
Manchester City.
Yes, their cup.
They take it the most. They take it the most seriously out of the bigger clubs usually. I know they didn't win it last year, but I think they'll be back on it this year.
Jack.
I think we're winning the Carabao or the FA. I would love to win the FA Cup instead, so I'll give the Carabao to Man City. Man City will win the Carabao.
James, League Cup.
Chelsea.
Left field. Okay. And I'm going to say Spurs for that one.
Double. Come on.
Well, no, I didn't predict the FA Cup.
Oh, that's all right. Sorry.
Champions League. Obviously Spurs, Glenn. Clearly.
I might take the 5th on this one because I really, it's beyond my comprehension. But you got to think Manchester City are going to win it one year. out of the non-English clubs, you're probably looking at Real Madrid again. Very, very boring. I can't see anyone out of the, Man City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. I can't see anyone.
PSG, maybe.
They can never get it together, can they? Who's their
No.
manager? That's passed me by. Who's their new manager? Or haven't they got one yet?
At where?
PSG.
Oh, Galtier. Christophe Galtier.
Yeah,
he's like a former.
I just don't see it. Teams win the Champions League, not piles of individuals, and I just think there's too many egos there to make it work. So I can't see PSG doing it. They'll do quarterfinals, semi-finals, but ultimately it'll be the same as every other year. They won't quite get across the line. So I'll go for Manchester City for the Champions League this year.
Jack.
I always like to think that Bayern will go really far. I feel like they always make it to the semis, but then they just lose once they get there. I'll say Bayern or Real Madrid. And then just because Real Madrid won it last season, I'll go with Bayern Munich.
Okay, Bayern. Yeah, good shout. James?
I don't know. This is difficult because I don't think City will win. I don't think PSG will win it. The guy they brought in at City was famous for playing 4-4-2. I think he's going to struggle at PSG a lot. Maybe Liverpool. I think the thing is, City are going to be more desperate to win it than Liverpool, right? They're going to be much more desperate. Guardiola in particular, he hasn't won the Champions League since like 2011, right? Something like that. They're going to be way more desperate to win it. So I can see them almost forgoing the league or the domestic cups for the Champions League. So I think they're more likely to win it. But I don't know, that Madrid game, I think Madrid, it's going to be one of those three, right? Madrid, Liverpool or City. But I don't know, Barca have made pretty strong additions. They could go far. And it's a cup competition at the end of the day. A team can sneak in, can't they?
James. Who's going to win it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't give you a prediction. I don't know.
Excellent preview, though. It was an excellent Champions League preview. I'm excited for the Champions League.
Oh, that's my point. I'm trying to give some reasoning. I think the safest bet would be to say City or Liverpool. Let's go with City because they're more desperate to win it. So I think Liverpool want to win the league more, whereas City want to win the Champions League more. So I can see if they're both in the semis towards the end of the season, City will focus more in the Champions League and Liverpool want the league a little bit more. Yeah, Barca could go far, as could Madrid, as could Bayern. I think any of them could win it. That's the thing.
James, that's so on the fence.
Any of them could win it.
Barca are going to win it. There you go. That's mine. Shout out to Gav, who's been a channel member now for 10 months. If you want to be a channel member, details are in our YouTube bio. And he says Premier League and League Cup for us. I hope you're right, Gav. Absolutely hope you're right. A bit faster than the previous predictions. Europa League, Glenn.
I don't know. I'll pass on this one. I don't know who's in it.
This is a difficult one. Jack. Oh, so many. The problem is it's the variable of who drops in it, right?
I love being in the Champions League, but from a neutral perspective, I actually love the Europa League. I think it's just fascinating watching those teams. But I'm gonna go. I think a good German team will drop out, so I will say Leverkusen. Leverkusen are going to win the Europa League.
Okay, James. Can we get one word answer? Do you think?
United. Oof.
I'm going to say Spurs. We're going to drop out.
We'll drop out. I would love that. I would love that.
Do you know it's not a bad thing, and you get back in the Champions League next season as well. I just Conte. There is a rationale for this. Conte's record in the Champions League is not good. Not good at all. In fact, his record in Europe is not good. So,
he got to Europa League final with Inter in the same season he won the league. He struggled in the Champions League at Chelsea, admittedly, but they came into Barcelona in round of 16. And at Juve, they've always struggled in the Champions League, So I think that's less mitigating than anything else.
They've won it a couple of times as well, James, in between it. So, but anyway,
for a while.
Do we have the stupid Conference League again this year?
Yeah, it's set to stay. That is,
Glenn,
wasn't cancelled after one season.
That's not going away.
We're not going to discuss that one, but
it's mental. It's just mental. So we have
But-
COVID and suddenly it's a bad idea to be travelling, and then somewhere in the middle of that we invent a third tier European competition. It's mental.
The interesting thing with the Europa Conference League is number one. Have you seen Jose's tattoo? That's hilarious. He's got it tattooed on his arm, which is funny in itself. But the thing is with the Conference League, when that extra place for the Champions League goes in, I mean potentially. And one of the cups qualifiers for the UEFA, the FA Cup qualifiers for you. You could very well, with the 8th team finishing 8th, being in the Conference League. So I suppose it opens European football up to a wider audience.
It does, but whether it would be good for you in the long term, because I remember Burnley. Was it Burnley? Were in the
they made the
they got in the Europa League, didn't they? And they lost their first 6 league games or something because they were playing qualifiers in Kazakhstan or whatever, and. I think for the
but I feel like no Burnley fan would like trade that back. I think
that's true.
They'll take that for the world. I think that's the whole point. I don't think they'll lose those 6 games all over again. I think to go back to the
they stayed up that season as well.
First manager to leave. I'm going to lead this one off and say Lampard. James,
Bruno Lage.
Whoa.
Okay, good shout. Yeah,
good shout.
Yeah.
Do you want me to rationalise that a little bit?
Not really.
That's a good shout.
Okay.
It's a good shout. Yeah. Come on.
Brendan Rodgers.
I'm loving these.
I like these.
Yeah, I'm not a great fan of Brendan. We've had issues.
Apart from Brendan.
Yeah, we've had issues with Brendan before at Saints. Not a huge fan of Brendan. I find it quite amusing that I didn't realise that Leicester were in the financial fair play trouble as well. I have no real idea or interest in whether it's as bad as like Everton's situation or whatever. But to hear that they might conceivably lose half of their first team squad before the season starts is quite interesting. So I don't know. The owners at Leicester seem decent guys. They seem to be very good owners on the face of it. But it'd be interesting to see if the patience wears thin with Brendan if they're not as good as they were last season.
Well, with Leicester, the thing is, everyone goes, "Oh, they're great owners," and they are. They give a free pint out. Do you know the first game of the season they give a free pint to every supporter? That's a nice touch, isn't it? But they are ruthless when they need to be. So I remember Ranieri. Obviously, won in the league. Got sacked the next season.
Should have had a job for life, shouldn't he?
Where performance is, compromised, I do think they'll take action. So, good shout, Brendan Rodgers. Jack.
Bruno Lage, that's a fantastic shout, James. I would steal yours if I could. I hadn't thought about that one.
Go ahead.
I might say if Scott Parker starts really poorly, like just ends up losing 4 or 5, out of 6. I could see them sacking early and just getting in a different one because Bournemouth, they have, it's a free hit, for them to try to stay up. So if it's not working with Scott Parker, I'd be surprised if they decide to keep him and let them get sacks. So maybe Scott Parker.
Okay. And then these two very quickly. Best Spurs transfer. Glenn, you said you think that'll be Basuma.
Oh, best Spurs transfer. Basuma, definitely.
Jack.
Basuma.
James?
Perisic.
Yeah, I'm with Perisic. I'm on the Perisic train. I think he'll be a revelation. Worst Spurs transfer, James? Who's going to flop?
I don't think any of them will flop. Who's the worst? You could argue Foster, because he's probably not going to play as many games as any of them, but I don't think he's a bad transfer. My point is, he's the worst of a good set of transfers.
Okay, that's fine. I've got your answer. Glenn, worst transfer for Spurs?
Richarlison could be, because he could upset the apple cart, but I don't think he will be. Again, similar to like I said with Forster, he knows he's there. He's not automatic first choice. He knows that.
Yeah.
And but he is the sort of temperamental player that could cause problems if things don't go well for him. I'm really not sure about Longley at centre half. I've always thought he looked very, very average when playing in European games before. So I don't think he'll be the answer to the Davinson Sanchez woes that you've got. I think he could be another one who might be a little bit dodgy, especially until he gets up to speed with the English game.
Okay. Jack?
Maybe I'll just say it. Maybe the Jet Spence one, just because it felt like a position that we did need more of a quality, or at least, maybe higher, quality player that's been maybe at least, a bit more higher regarded, maybe a bit more proven. The right wing back spot was kind of a spot that I felt like was up for grabs, or maybe even up for competition. And the Jet Spence signing, as much as I'm really optimistic about it, if I needed to be critical of it, you could be pretty underwhelmed by the Jet Spence signing. So I'm going to say Jet Spence.
I'm going to say Jet Spence as well. You've stolen my thunder, Jack, because I think that he's just going to develop and probably go on loan next season or something. Good. Just to touch on transfers before we wrap. So some transfer news coming through this week. Destiny Udogie. Have I said that right, Jack?
I think Udogie, but it could be Udogie. I'm not sure.
Udogie. 21 million from Udinese. Looks like it's going to be a done deal. There's a lot of smoke on this one. What do you think of him, Jack?
I haven't really seen too much of him. Plays as a left wing back. He's sort of tall, like by the looks of it. I think he's 6'1", so that sort of fits that Conte bill that we've been looking for. Tall, physical sort of players. He's really young. I think he's 20 years old or 21 years old, coming off a good season. Sort of played for a pretty poor Udinese side. It was a back 3, back 5 system, so he could probably fit in well for us. That's all I can really offer. He looked good from what I could tell, and he has, some good, kind of reputation at least about him. But that's all I can say. But I'm a bit disappointed that Spurs are sort of, I don't know. It seems like, it's always bad timing to do these sort of transfers when we do probably need another center back or another creative midfielder, if you ask me, Caller, to do these sort of signings right now. I know that maybe signings, they pop up. You have to take advantage of when, it's given to you. Maybe you have to wait till you want the other ones. But I don't know. It's just the timing of the signing I'm not very happy with, is what I would say. It's very underwhelming again. Underwhelming.
Month to go, though. Month to go. I've got something to get you in the mood for the game, all of you. So I'm just going to hope this works, right?
It is Kane. It is a goal. Does find a shooting angle. It's typical Harry Kane. The finish is unbelievably good.
Oh, we're all on mute.
What more could you want to get you hyped for a game? Did you enjoy that, Glenn?
I wanted to see the clip where Conte's got rain running down his face as you lost to Saints last season, and it looked like his hair dye. Looked like his hair dye was running. That clip wasn't in there for some reason. Don't know why.
My favourite bit about that clip was they've managed to shoehorn Harry Kane scoring a free kick in. Despite being heavily deflected, as if it's a wonder strike. So I guess that means he's on free kicks. Glenn, I want to thank you.
No worries, mate,
for coming on tonight.
No, thanks for having me.
I will absolutely listen out to your Saints podcast, which is available on YouTube, I believe.
It's recorded live on YouTube on the Total Saints podcast channel. That will be going out 7:15 on Sunday, and the tidied up, take all the mistakes and the swearing out, will be on Spotify and all your normal places where you get your podcasts. Usually it lands at about 8 o'clock on Monday morning, I think. So you'll be able to hear what we all think of tomorrow's game.
I'll definitely be tuning into that, and I hope you enjoy your visit to Tottenham Stadium as well.
Yeah, we'll do.
It's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Jack, thanks very much for coming back on, mate. Really appreciate it. Your
Thanks for having me.
as ever is very valuable.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think you did fine on all the pronunciations, caller, you didn't need me, maybe for as much as you thought, so it was good to tag along. I must say, I had to do a bit of a preview for Southampton, and to see that you guys are anticipating a back three, I'm very happy about, because it felt ridiculous to be doing kind of back three sort of kind of studying at Southampton, because you guys have been doing 4-4-2. It feels like as long as I've been alive. So, it's like, it was nice to see that you could validate that for me. So good to be on. Thanks for having me, caller.
No problem. And James, as ever, thanks very much for joining.
Lovely for being on. A rare Friday show appearance for me. Obviously, I'm locked in on Wednesdays, so tune in for that, everyone. But thanks for having me on, as ever, caller. And thank you for Jack and Glenn for putting up with me, and everyone in the comments. For those who agreed with me, and for those who probably thought, bloody hell, will this guy shut up? He doesn't know what he's on about. It's been lovely to be on.
Okay, we're back Monday. There's going to be some exclusive behind-the-scenes footage from the stadium on Sunday Live alongside the match, so do look out for that. We've got the Conte cam back, the Tunnel Club legend that is Mr. Diver is going to be filming Conte very close up and personal. So check that out on our YouTube site, Glenn. It's well worth. If you like Conte in the rain, rain or sun, you might get a treat there. And we're back Monday. We're back Wednesday. We're back Friday next week. And until next time, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
you Spurs.
Nah.